I'm going to sound horrible and stuffy. Shut up!
Welcome to Games Overboard. I'm PJ.
I'm Dan. I apologize for sounding stuffy, guys. I've got a bit of a cold.
As you heard in the cold open.
I hate you, PJ.
Okay, so we have a special episode of Games Overboard today, because not only are we reviewing a Stonemaier game, but we are going to be interviewing Jamey Stegmaier.
Yeah, just right after this. So this is pretty cool. We figured the best way to do that would be just playing, one of the games that I'm unfamiliar with. I mean, I've seen it. Mm-hmm. I know we tote it all the time.
We're giving it away in a couple hours.
We're giving it away soon.
By the time you listen to it, it'll be weeks old.
That's right. I haven't played it. I've seen it played, but it was my first time fully playing it. And you know what? It's a lot of fun. Now, he can't take full credit for it.
Correct.
This was developed by somebody else. What was her name?
Elizabeth Hargrave. So we didn't mention the name yet, did we?
I don't.
So we are doing Wingspan.
We did. This is like maybe I don't remember.
No,
anyway.
Yeah.
So Wingspan.
So it's designed by Elizabeth Hargrave.
Right.
And from what I read, she was showing it off at a convention, caught Jamey Stegmaier's eye, and from there he offered to produce it and gave pointers on how it was. Hopefully that'll be a question that comes up in the interview.
Yeah, I'd like to find out more about his story behind this. And the thing that I find so cool is even though he did not develop it, it wasn't his idea, you can really see a lot of his influence on the game itself.
Yeah. Should we record a video?
You might as well. Why the heck not?
Okay. Do we start over then?
I mean, I guess.
Let's just close out this.
Yeah, I mean, keep it open for now, but
okay.
Because I don't, we're gonna need it open anyway. We'll edit all this out, cut all this out.
Will we?
I hope you do. Anyway, yeah. So it was really cool to see his influence on the game. I mean, it's got a very Scythe feel to it, without being anything like Scythe, which is so cool.
The engine builder aspect of it, the high production quality.
Oh my gosh! Even the instruction booklet is so high quality. You pull it out and you go, "This really is."
The first time I ever opened it, I touched the book. I'm like, holy crap!
It's high quality.
What is this
stuff.
paper?
It's textured. It feels really great. It really feels like something that had a lot of time and effort and a lot of care put into it. And anytime we see games like that, we know it's going to be something special.
Yep. I remember I ran to Shanna. I'm like, feel this paper. And she's like, what?
Feel the paper.
Just touch it.
So good.
Touch my rule book.
That's what we call it now. But it's great, and the way everything is laid out is so simple. It took me a tiny bit to get used to the game, but once you get used to it, just like Scythe, you go.
It clicks.
Everything just goes together so easily, and all the instructions are basically right there on the board for you. All you have to do is just learn how to decipher these little symbols, and they're not even complicated symbols.
Yeah, the graphic design is really
fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So our components for this game, everybody gets their placemat, their player mat, which is really high quality.
Amazing artwork.
Cardboard, great artwork. It looks like, now on the back of it, when it folds up, it looks like it's a journal, a leather-bound journal. And then when you open it up, you get your game board. And the game board looks fantastic. Like you said, the artwork is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, you see like a landscape where in the bottom are these wetlands, and then there's like a meadow, fields, and then there's a forest up at the top. And so it's three large rows of, different habitats for birds.
Yeah, and what's really neat is each one, just like in Scythe, you fill in the spot, and then you have to, you keep moving your way down.
Yeah, you select your action, and then move down the row. So as you put more birds in, you fill up that row, which gives you more actions you can do.
Right. So it's the more that you spend to do stuff, the more
powerful you get.
Yeah, the more power or not more power, but the more actions you get, the more abilities.
The more things you can do. Yeah.
Which I used to great effect to destroy you today, PJ.
Yep.
And that's the thing, though. It's not really one of those games where, like, you destroy, the enemy. It's you've got some goals, and it's a race to be the first one to complete those goals.
Yeah.
And you get, what is it? It's 4? Is it 4?
Yeah, there are 4 rounds.
4 rounds.
Yep. Each round has its own objective, and then you have your own personal objective that you're going for.
Right. And if you're lucky, you can gain up to 2, 3, however many. If you're lucky, like I did, I got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to pick up that extra one. That, I mean, it didn't really help me win the game. It just put me way over what you were gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole time I'm looking at that final score, I'm like, yep, I don't think I won this at all. I can take this action and get 6 points, or I can take this action and get 7 points. But he still has way more points than me at the end. But yeah, this game I've heard many people call a multiplayer solitaire game, quotes, where you're kind of doing your own little thing on your own little mat. There's the only real interaction is if I'm going for a bird and you take it before I can get it.
Right. I take your card.
So because of that, the game has a very non-confrontational, a very calm, like, kind of feel to it, the zen kind of feel to it.
Yeah, when I said take your card, I had a flash of Daniel Day-Lewis saying, "I drink your milkshake." To anybody who has watched that film.
It's a meme now, too.
Is it a meme now?
It's everywhere,
Oh, my gosh. All right, I'm sorry, Daniel Day-Lewis. And everybody else that had to hear that horrible imitation. So the rest of the components in this game are pretty cool. You get, you get your cards, which are, again, high quality, fantastic artwork. I mean, really, it looks like you're looking at a bird watcher or bird collector's sketchbook. I mean, these
even better than that, though, too. Like the artwork in this.
Oh, the artwork is so pretty. Like, I was just looking at the owls, going, "Man, I really want an owl." Angie would kill me if I got one.
Yeah.
But I still really want a raccoon, too, and she keeps telling me no.
What?
I love raccoons.
What?
I probably have one living in the farmhouse right now. I won't know until I get in there.
So, yeah, components-wise, just like every other Stonemaier game I've ever played, like, they are fantastic.
You get your food source. Your food source is really high-quality cardboard pieces. And when I say high quality, I mean it's one of those pieces that PJ and I would agree I wouldn't have this any other way. It's nice, it's thick. It doesn't feel like you're going to make any damage to this just because of how sturdy these things are. You get a set of 5 dice, and the dice are wooden, and they've got the symbols painted on beautifully, by the way.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have your own dice tower that comes with it in the shape of a birdhouse. And that's just really cool. Yeah, I saw how it went together. I went, no way. That is so
cardboard
neat.
Dice tower, and it's sturdy.
It is sturdy. Like, for a second, I really thought it was made out of wood. Mm-hmm. Like, great texture, great look to it. And, of course, it does the job wonderfully as a dice tower. You get eggs. You get eggs.
Yeah, so these plastic eggs, and they're all different colors and everything.
Were they plastic or were they wood?
No, they're plastic.
They're plastic. Yeah, either way, okay, that's how good quality it is when we can't tell if it's wood or plastic. If they feel great, and when you drop them, they give a nice thud.
Yeah. And they look so good on a mat. I have pictures, so when you see the Facebook post, you'll see pictures of this thing.
Yeah, and they're great. Of course, you don't have to have a specific color; they're just there to flavor it up. But they look great.
Yeah.
Once again, I wouldn't expect anything less from a company like this.
Yeah, if you Google Wingspan and see just the cover of the box, that's literally one of the cards, and every card is that caliber.
Oh yeah,
of artwork.
They are fantastic. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. What worked for you in this game?
Everything. I liked this. I liked the solidarity, or not solidarity, the solitude there, where I really wasn't fighting against you in any way. It was just focusing on my own stuff, my own goals, and then the goals of each round.
Yep. And seeing who can do it more efficiently and better.
Right. Which you only took me, the first round.
The first round, that was it, yeah.
I'm sure if we play it again, it'll change, but it's really neat that you get that kind of gameplay. Not a lot of games give that to you. Mm-hmm. You're always, even co-op games, you're always fighting against something. Nothing where you can just be like, hey, let's look at this.
Yep. In terms of the multiplayer solitaire, as some people say it, and they always say that with a look of disgust on their face. So in terms of what doesn't work, for some people that will definitely be a turnoff. Just the lack of player interaction. Even we're giving it away tonight. By the time you listen to it, we're recording this on Valentine's Day. So by the time you listen to this, it'll be 2 weeks in the future. But there were people who were like, cool game, I'm not into it because I like more confrontation, I like more interaction between players. But good luck to everyone involved. Yeah,
so I'm sure we could make it like that. Like, I play this.
Oh, you're going for some larger birds here. Let me take that one from you.
I see what you have in your food section. I take this card from you.
Yeah. So I mean, if you wanted, I'm sure. I mean, I did it once, I think, where I'm like, oh, Dan's going for the goal objective here. I'm gonna just lay more eggs. So.
Didn't say if you did it.
No, it didn't.
I still had more eggs than you.
So watching your opponent does help add interaction to it. This game is a great introduction to tableau building games where you're just making this, spread of cards in front of you and they all interact with each other. Engine building games too. I don't have many of each, to be honest.
No, I know you don't.
I really want some more though.
I really like the engine building games. They are it's really cool to see a what you could consider a computer, a rudimentary computer. Mm-hmm. It's so neat.
Yeah. What do you think of the theme when you see it's a game about birds. So it'll be fun.
I didn't know what to think at first. I was like, well, we're giving this away. I probably should be up to speed on what we're giving away. And I was like, well, I do like that box art. That box art is really pretty. And then when we get to the game, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. This is neat. I mean, it's very, very pretty, very colorful.
Yeah.
And of course, there is an app that you can play this on,
which is also incredible.
I mean, again, beautiful. He showed me the app on his phone, and it's the same concept, same great gameplay, but it's more interactive. You get to see like a not just a flat tableau, but a 3D representation of what all of these lands, if they were put side by side, would look like.
Yeah, so instead of seeing all 3 rows of the different habitats, you just see the forest, and then you swipe up and it zooms out, and you're in the fields. And then you swipe up again and it zooms out farther, and you see, the wetlands. And if you look, way off in the distance, there's the forest, and if you swipe down, 2 times, you'll zoom back into the forest.
Into that
forest. I think that's just whoever came up with that idea.
Oh, it's fantastic!
It's just genius.
And
now I look at the player book. I'm like, or the player mat. I'm like, oh, instead, I always looked at it as just rows, verticality.
Yeah, verticality instead of actually seeing horizontally.
Yeah,
everything
instead of looking. Down, from, you're standing, on a dock or something, looking at the water, and then, you see forest off in the distance.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and of course to get that experience, you'd have to get the app to take a look and see how that would all play together. And the one thing that I'm really happy about these types of games, especially with these creators, is you like board games, it's a board game. You like the board game enough, but you want to do a video game, it's a video game, it's a computer game. That's really cool to me, because sometimes you don't have the time, you really want to play it, but you don't have the patience to set out the board, or you don't have anybody else to play with, or you don't want to go through it like, dig everything out, clear a space off. Like, you could bring it up on a phone, you can bring it up on your computer.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is really cool, because you still get that same experience, but basically you can do it on the go.
So another downside to this game, I just thought of, because it happens every single time I've had to teach this game to someone, is the top row.
Oh, yeah.
The play a bird row.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have said anything, I never would have realized it.
Yeah, because when you look at the player mat, you see 3 rows. The gain food row, lay eggs row, and draw bird row. But at the very top, there's a very narrow row.
It is narrow.
And it says play a bird. And a lot of people just think that's the headings for the columns. But no, that's an actual row.
All by itself.
Yeah, an action.
And I see why
it's
so small, because you just have one of your little action cubes to put in there.
Yeah,
you don't have to put a huge card or anything.
Right.
But
I wish there was something to distinguish that, because every time I've taught this game, I've had to be like, remember, like, that's a row. Like, if you want to put a bird down, you have to use that.
Luckily, you only had to tell me that once.
Yeah, a lot of other people I've taught this game to, because I don't think I've ever played this game where I didn't have to teach it yet. So every time I play this game, I teach it, and every time I play it, they always put a marker in the gain food row, thinking that's the play a bird row, Right. And I'm like, no, it's the next one up. It's up in the margins there. Mm-hmm. And so that takes some wrapping your head around.
Right, but I mean, even there, if you look carefully, you can see you have... there are certain things that you have to, like, you have to give away a certain item in order to get said bird. Like, every column, if you want to do an action, you have to give up something. Like, I have to give up food to feed this bird so I can get it.
Or I have to play an egg if it's beyond the first column.
Right, I have to put so many eggs down to get a bird into play, and then feed said bird. Like, you have to do something. It's a give and take kind of game.
Yeah. Something I wanted to clear up, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's an awesome thing, actually, is that every version of Wingspan comes with a turn guide. It's called the Swift Start Pack. And and it gives everyone, like, 2 cards, I think it is, to start with. Like, everyone gets cards, a certain bird. Like, player 1 gets this bird, and player 2 gets this bird. Oh. And player 1 gets this food, and player 2 gets this food, and player 3 gets this food, and so then it walks you through, like, 8 turns of the game. Like, player 1, you're gonna want food first, so put your player, and it tells you
how you're gonna play.
It walks you through so you get to see how every action works, how the cards work, how they play off each other. I say something to note, because on Amazon they sell Wingspan, and then in parentheses, with the Swift Starts Pack. And, like, they all have that. So
you didn't show me that. So
yeah, because I was here to teach it to you. But
and that's a great thing. If it's the first time everybody's playing the game for the first time, that's a great way to get started. To get, well, I mean, even Gloomhaven and Frosthaven kind of have that same aspect to it, but in a different sense. It tells you how to play the game, how you're gonna, continue through. Of course, Frosthaven, guys, we are still working on continuing our first.
We just need time to dedicate to it.
It is a long freaking game.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other game I've really seen that has, like, this really nice turn tracker guide book thing, is Sleeping Gods, which I just got for my birthday, which you will love. You will love this game.
I'm sure I will.
But it's another one. I
haven't disliked the game we've played yet.
Yeah, it's another one where it literally says, like, go here, because it's an open world sandbox game.
Okay.
So it's this big map with lots of numbers on it. So it's like, go to number 62 or whatever it is, and then, like, open paragraph 62 in the book, read it, and then it's like, you're going to assign this person to do, it tells you everything you're going to do.
So it's kind of like a choose your own way.
Yeah, it's a choose your own adventure.
Do you remember those books?
Meets, like Skyrim kind of open world type thing.
God, I miss those books. Do you remember those choose your own way books?
Yeah.
My favorite was the Batman book that my older brother had.
Huh.
Of course, I sucked at that game. Like, choose your own way. I'm like, I'm dead.
Did you know there was one of those in Elder Scrolls?
There is?
In Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5. They had a choose your own adventure book.
I did not know that.
It was like Horus the Dragon, or it was Dragon was in the title. I forget what it was called.
I'll have to go back and play that.
It was fun. I died many times.
I want to get back into it. If they would only do something decent for the VR version, I would pick that back.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'm so spoiled with other games where you can actually wield a sword correctly.
Yep. Back to Wingspan.
Back to the topic at hand.
So again, like in terms of things that work, everything. This game is fantastic. Easy to learn, easy to play.
Absolutely.
All that. Other than that row, my wife Shanna, she says that the game is too long. I
beg to differ. Yeah. I think I found that game. I found it too short.
Yeah, yeah.
I really did. I found it too short. Well, you and I are used to these bigger games.
Yeah, we're used to it. We're used to heavier rule sets. Where she played it once when I taught it to her, and then she played it 2 more times when we taught it to other people who are not used to these rule sets. So it did take like an hour and a half to get through.
Well, yeah, because you have multiple people you have to teach.
And using the Swift Start guide, too, because, you're reading a paragraph that explains why you're doing an action, and then you do the action. Where, for you and me, I was just like, if you want to do this, you need to do this. Oh, okay, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I want to do this. Okay, this is what you have to do that. Cool.
That's it.
I'm done.
I did it.
Yeah.
And as you get used to the rules, and because you're not relying on other people's turns, you are able to just plan what your next move is. So when it's your turn, you go, okay, I do this, that. My turn's over.
Right.
And your turn literally is seconds long.
Yeah.
So you can zip through this game.
And that's really great, because if you do like preparing things, if you do like to strategize a bit, you have the full option to strategize. My whole strategy was to just whip PJ's butt, and I did.
Hate you.
And all I had to do for that was just be observant of what he had, and what not only my personal goals were, that I can show him if I really wanted to, and I did. I did show him, because it was like, hey, because I'm still a little like, I'm new to the game, how's this?
And then I promptly forgot what his goals were.
Exactly. He promptly forgot, which was like, whew, good for me. But if you pay attention to the goals that you have set for yourself, plus the goals that everybody has to adhere to or strive for that round, really you can just go, okay, this round is supposed to be all based on this. I'm going to do as much of that as I can and make sure I come out on top. And of course, you're going to have to do a lot of things to prep for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to need more birds. I'm going to need more eggs so I can hatch those birds. I'm going to need more food for these things, And each turn is going to really set you up either to fulfill that goal to the best of your ability, or you're going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, and even because, thinking back on it, one of your personal goals was to have only birds
in the forest.
Yeah,
as many birds in the forest as I can get.
And they could only live in the forest. Like, some birds, they can live in any habitat, or one of 2 habitats, or some are very specific to where they can be placed. And so, even if I remembered that, there's not much I could have done to stop you.
Right.
Because Stonemaier Games, I learned this as I was researching for our interview today, is that they do not like impeding players from doing what they want to do.
Right, and that's what you were telling me, which is really cool. And I like the idea of everything's constantly moving forward.
Yeah.
You don't get penalized for making an action.
Yeah.
Which... That, I think that's a great game design.
It's the opposite game design of Munchkin, where or Exploding Kittens, where it's all
right. Where it's all the wrong move. I'm done.
Where everything is a gotcha card or a take that action.
And that's cool.
It's great in its own right. You have to be in the right mood to play it with the right people.
Exactly, and even for Scythe, which it's probably one of our most favorite games that we play. With Scythe, it's the same style. It's you're always advancing. So think of it like a story or a play, whatever. You're always advancing your plot.
Even if you lose a battle, you don't lose any people or mechs or anything.
Exactly. And even in that so-called battle, that battle isn't something that you're forced into. It's something that's like, hey, you have a resource or you have a spot that I want. Like, you come into conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also like that because it seems very natural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it starts with everyone vying for the factory. Right. And then after that, it's just vying for territory, just trying to have the most amount of land. And, it, like you said, very natural feeling. Mm-hmm. And this game has that, too.
It's got a very clear-cut, straight-through line. There's no backtracking. There's no, oopsie, you made a mistake, now you get penalized by doing
you lose this bird, it flew away, or something. Yeah,
this bird picked out your assistant's face. Or
I'm going to lay some eggs. No, you don't. No, exactly. There's none of that happening.
I'm going to lay some eggs, and a tree snake just took all your eggs.
Yeah. So there's none of that in this game. It's always about forward momentum.
Right. And, that's so cool, because that will really help you in the long run. Mm-hmm. I had myself set up, for example, with my forest birds almost immediately.
Yeah, that was kind of insane. How quickly you built that population.
Well, that was all just the luck of the draw. I mean, they were there. I think I only had maybe one card left to do before I actually completed that goal. And then everything else was, oh, shoot, I completely failed our first round goal. I didn't get any points for it.
Yeah, you didn't even get second place. You just had zero.
I had zero because I didn't pay attention to it. And then the next one was, well, I already completed my goal. Now let's actually go for what they're saying. So the second one was get the most birds in the wetlands. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to focus on now.
Yeah.
My personal goal's done. Now I'm going to finish this goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm going to say, if you're going to lose a goal really, really bad, lose the first goal.
yeah, right.
Like, if you're going to go flat zero on this, make sure it's the first goal, because those are the least points that you can get.
Yeah, that fourth round goal.
Woo. Wow.
That was 7
points for the
My personal objective was only 6.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. It's good. I think we've pretty much exhausted this, our talking points on this, just because it's so simple, it's so easy, and it's a game that if you really want to know how to play it, it's a game that you can easily watch online. Just watch a quick tutorial.
Yeah,
video.
You'd get the feel for this game very fast by watching people play it.
Exactly, no problem. How many can this hold up to?
5.
Five players. A lot of our games we play in 2 players, so our games usually are relatively fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd assume with 3 players, it will go a little bit longer, but I still think it'll be a pretty quick game.
Yeah, especially once they all know the rules. Like, your second or third time playing this will go so much faster than the first.
Well, how long did this take us? Like 15, 20 minutes?
I'd probably say closer to a half hour.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Still a fast
not
game.
Bad.
No,
not bad at all.
Not at all. And it's a really, really easy game that if you're like, you got a party going on and you're waiting for people to show up before you get into the big party game, I'd say this is a nice game to relax and start off with.
Yeah, definitely. If you like Euros and puzzle games, this is also a good option to go with.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
so final verdict on this.
Final verdict, this is a solid, a 9 out of 10.
Absolutely.
We don't give number ratings on here.
No.
But so my final verdict without the number scale is buy this game. This game is just
definitely. I'd say great. This is a game that, in my opinion, I could sit down with my own parents and teach them how to play real fast, and just it would be a fun family night type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So as long as you're open for a calm game, a non-confrontational game, then this is definitely a game you want to check out.
Absolutely. This is probably one of the most calm games we've ever played.
Yeah, I don't think anyone yelled at anyone during the game.
No.
There are a couple times where I yelled at myself because I kept giving away eggs when I really shouldn't have been getting rid of eggs.
Or you've been putting them in the wrong spot.
I've been putting them in the wrong nests, yeah.
It's okay.
But in terms of yelling at you, there wasn't any of that.
No, it wasn't like Terra and Meeple City. I yelled at you a lot for pushing me into buildings and.
Yep. Oh, that's so good.
That was such a great game.
Yep. Such a variety.
It's so much fun.
So, thank you everyone for listening. We can't wait to hear what you have to say about this review and our giveaway and all of that. We're really looking forward to just everything else that's coming up in 2023.
Yeah.
Without further ado, on to our interview with Jamey Stegmaier.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everyone.
Good night, guys.
So, everyone, we're here with Jamey Stegmaier, designer of many games, Viticulture Scythe, Charterstone.
Wingspan.
Well,
Listen, close enough.
So, that I do have a question about later. But, so yeah, I just introduced Dan to Wingspan just an hour ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wingspan, Dan.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I can spread my wings, but I can't.
Please stop. Don't embarrass us in front of the cool guy.
So,
I'm trying to get on a date with him. So,
Yeah.
so he's been fangirling since the second you responded to the email.
well, I was really excited. Well, like, I've seen your videos and everything, and you're incredibly prolific in just the content you release, be it your blog or your YouTube videos and all that. So let's start off by saying, have you ever thought of doing like a masterclass or even like a TED Talk or something? You know, like something a little like a longer format kind of deal for game designers.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have thought about it a little bit, but what I like about my videos, what makes me kind of enjoy the videos, the blogs, is that I don't have to plan much for it. I just kind of sit down and go. And with the blogs, at least, I can revise it later if I change my mind about something or if I want to revise it in any way. The videos, I can't do that as easily, but as you've probably seen in my videos, they're all one take videos. And that makes it sustainable for me to keep doing it. And so
For sure.
those master classes, I think they put a lot of time and effort into
I could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
you run 3 podcasts, is that right?
Oh,
3,
yes.
yes.
3. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are in the basement of our formerly haunted house right now.
Okay.
Welcome.
We had an exorcism in 2018 and we haven't had anything going on here since.
Everything's clean. It's okay.
Wow.
Virtually clean.
Yeah.
And 100% clean.
So I don't know if you're a believer, but yeah, like the things, because I say to my students when I tell these stories, like, sure, you may not believe, but believe that it happened. If there's a scientific explanation, great.
Yeah.
Like I would love to find it eventually, but until then, we know what happened, and we have an explanation for it.
I use it in
Right.
I'm a teacher too. So like I use it in my English class and I say, there's a difference between fiction and nonfiction. And there's, fantasy, but how do you go from fantasy, from nonfiction to fantasy? And it's the idea that you're telling stories and those stories can be misconstrued or they can be changed. So you end up getting, fiction from actual nonfiction. So for us, this house is nonfiction. If they want to add on to it, make their own little story or a movie or, a board game out there by a really cool guy who's good looking, that's totally fine. I'll give you some ideas.
I'll get right on that.
Wasn't talking to you, Dan. But I think it's a good example of if we lived nonfiction, but you might think it's fiction now. And that's the difference there.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
I'm so curious now, but is there a certain episode I should go listen to
The first
learn?
4 are,
First 4.
episodes
Okay.
2, 3, and 4 are our house stories.
Yeah, the first one is our sister-in-law, Laura, and Ray, our brother-in-law, Ray. We both had haunted houses. So I wanted to make the podcast because I just found that our story was very interesting. And I think it's applicable to a lot of people who maybe have had things happen, but they didn't have a way to explain it. So it's called the Well House Exorcism because our basement I'm looking at it, has a well.
There's a well in the floor of our basement.
It's cool.
Oh, okay.
And
I
it's
didn't know it
very important to why there's activity on
So
the
you
property.
got to listen to the 3-part series.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I will. I'm hooked. Yeah. I'm so curious now. That's
After
awesome.
that, I just spent time discussing things in Pennsylvania. Oh, you're from Indiana, right?
Missouri.
I'm from.
Missouri.
I'm in Missouri. Yeah, I'm in St. Louis now. I'm from Virginia, but I'm in.
Oh, there you go. So you know
okay.
Pennsylvania.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Cool.
So I do a lot of local stuff. We just did a Pennhurst series. We're going into Gettysburg. So
Yep.
that kind of
Okay.
stuff. I do a lot of research. I'm an English teacher.
So, I want to start off by saying, our listeners are probably confused as to why we have one of the biggest names in board games on our podcast, because we've been focusing on independent designers and just
Kickstarters.
getting their names out there and everything. And the reason why I thought it was so important for you to be on here is because you were one of them, with viticulture, really kickstarting pun intended, kickstarting you and really getting you like to where you are today, and how you don't use Kickstarter anymore. And so I thought, you sharing your words of wisdom, and through my research, getting ready for this interview, just seeing that, like you have blogs on, your whole procedure and everything, and like lessons you learned from it and everything. So, how did you get your first inspiration for viticulture? Like, how did that first game come to being?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was looking for a theme that I thought would appeal to gamers and non-gamers alike. And I came up with winemaking, because I know that, there's lots of great farming games that gamers or Euro gamers at least are interested in. And I thought the kind of the romanticism around running a vineyard could work well as a theme. And so I went with that. And what I learned through the viticulture campaign is that most of the people who backed it or were interested in it were gamers who happened to like wine, or were just gamers who liked farming themes. The campaign drew very few people who weren't already gamers but liked wine. And so that was a good early lesson for me to realize, like, if I'm going to make a game, like especially a middleweight Euro game, that like Wingspan has crossed over into birders, which is great. I love that birders are becoming gamers as a result of it. But I think that's an anomaly. I don't think that happens with most games.
Yeah, especially Euro style games. It's usually more thematic type, story driven games, not so much these puzzly type games really cross over like that. So I think that's incredible. What the common theme I've noticed with Stonemaier Games, and major props to you for, is every time I open the box, I know I'm in for something special. The components are fantastic. Something about the ink you use too, it just smells really good when you open the box.
I don't think he actually does the inking, but
but I mean, just like no other game, makes us feel that way. When we open the box, Scythe was the first time I ever painted minis, because the game demanded it. And I
demanded it so much that he's spent money on the special type of paints and brushes.
Oh, really? It wasn't special paints, it was brushes.
And the lighting thing you had, and the thing to hold minis. I mean,
I just used the dollar paints, the acrylics from Walmart, but it turned out fantastic.
Oh, they did look great.
Yeah.
Nice.
But the quality of your stuff is amazing. We were just looking at the rule book there for Wingspan, and it's the
texture of the texture
is
book
so tactile. It feels so cool.
So where did that idea come from, of just like high quality components? What led you to that, where instead making a cheaper game that you can market at like Target for $40 or something, but you'd rather have that luxury feel to it?
I think that just comes from my love of games that do that. Like there are plenty of Euro games that I love that just use cubes for everything, but when they go out of their way to have custom meeples or custom, like in viticulture, the little custom buildings, things like that. That enhances the experience for me. It makes me,
for sure.
It's more immersive, I think, to have something that looks like the actual thing than not. And the textures too. That's something I discovered with Between Two Castles, I think, was the first game that had that, where I was like, I don't need to make the rule books out of the same material that everyone does. Why not try a different material? And we've done that ever since, because I really like that. Not everyone likes it. I would say like 90% of people like it, and 10% of people really don't like it, because I prefer it. Just doesn't feel. Oh yeah, I prefer it. It feels luxurious to me.
Exactly, it feels rich.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, we mentioned we're teachers, right? So we're poor, but we got into podcasting because we love gaming. So did you have a different job before you became a gamer, or did you always see yourself becoming a board game designer?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a childhood dream, but I didn't even know it could be a job. I thought maybe it could be a hobby that maybe if I got lucky, I would be published. And so I decided to take luck out of it to a certain extent and just publish my own game with viticulture and become a self-publisher. And we published games like Wingspan from other designers as well. So I did have two jobs before this. I worked as a project manager at a medical textbook publishing company for 4 years after college. Okay. And then I worked at I was kind of a director of operations at a facility at the university that I attended for a few years as well. I went to school in St. Louis at Washington University. Yeah. Did you all, when you grew up, did you want to be a teacher? Was that your hope?
I have my own story about that. How about you, PJ?
I wanted to be a train engineer. So the first thing I did when he got me a VR headset was I bought a train game.
Nice.
So my story is I love being a teacher. So I'm glad this happened. I really say it's kismet, but our old counselor was very sexist. And so I was top of the class. I was in the top section of my class. And so he would call us all down and talk to the top 5 and say, like, what are your plans? Because you're going somewhere. And at the time I lived in a single wide trailer. You know, my parents were divorced. My mom and my stepdad did not make a lot of money. So I was like, I'm already a training manager at Burger King. I think I'm just going to stay there and work my way up and become like some kind of like district manager or something. And he said, you know, you're wasting your time because you can go to college and you can get scholarships and blah, 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 blah. I said, well, then what do I even go to college for? Because I have no idea. Like, I wasn't thinking about that. He says, well, you know, you're really smart. How about you be a teacher or a nurse? And so you have to like think about that. Like, oh yeah, that's 1950s. All right. So I was like, well, I don't like blood. So all right, teacher it is. Like, that's literally what happened. And he said, well, what kind of teacher do you want to apply to be? I'm like, I don't know. What should I do? He's like, well, what are you good at? No, I'm like, I'm in the top percentile of the class. Like, I'm good at everything. So be more specific. So I chose English. It wasn't like, I mean, it was an easy job. I thought I could do it really well. I had a teacher that I loved. She just made English so much fun. Shout out to Mrs. Saylor. She's listening. I'm sure she is. We're friends on Facebook. So that's where I kept, but then like I loved gifted education. So like later I went back, I'm still in college. I'm getting my PhD, but I went back and I got my LOE in gifted because I teach gifted now 7 through 12.
Oh yeah. Do either of you use games in the classroom?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I run a tabletop club and we go every Thursday.
I run manga club at my school, but my gifted kids play board games, and I always do the big board game thing at the end of the year. So yeah,
the kids love the games I bring in and everything like that.
They keep asking me to start a D&D club because you have one. They hear stories. I'm like, listen, no, I don't have that kind of time. I'm doing a PhD, sweetheart.
And I'm the boring one. I'm an actor.
Yep.
Oh, you're the boring one.
Oh God, it's him.
He's one of those.
That's okay. Stephen Coker liked you.
Oh yeah, because we were on the same coast there for a while.
Yeah, and they're both like theater people, so they understood each other in the struggle. So anyway, back to your board games. So out of all the games you've made, which one is your favorite?
Ooh.
Do you have like?
It's hard to choose.
Yeah,
come on.
One question I was going to say is, like, some game designers say like never make any of them your baby because if if you have to cut it or if it doesn't, if people don't like it as much as you want them to like it, then bad things can happen.
I feel like board games are like children. They always ask which one's your favorite, and you go, I don't have a favorite.
Well, you secretly do.
I'm not going to tell you one just because my kids will watch this one day, but I have a favorite. Actually, they're all my favorites in different ways.
But anyway,
and that one I would say is the same for games. Like Wingspan behind you. Wingspan's the best-selling game, and so it's had a very positive impact on us as a company, and so it's great for that reason. I'm glad that it's given careers to Elizabeth and to the artist. Charterstone, it's our only campaign game other than the Scythe expansion.
Yeah, the legacy
Scythe is
right there.
And Scythe,
We may own like all of your games. So there's Scythe there.
There's still so many I want.
And Rolling Realms is the one I played the most because I can just play that. I play that one on camera. I just play it. I play a round of it and put it up on YouTube because people can play along anytime. So I played that one the most.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so and there are a bunch of games that we published that I didn't design. So I'm really proud of like what those designers accomplished in those designs, and it's been fun to work for me to work on them as a developer as well. So
for sure.
Like which was your favorite?
Different reasons. So
were any of them like a true labor of love, or have all of them been that way? I feel like from a consumer standpoint, like they have such attention to detail and everything that it feels like they all must be for you.
When I learned that you were the creator of all of these, I kind of looked at PJ and went, you're lying. There's no way. They're so detailed. I would never imagine someone did all those different games.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. That's like just a compliment.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they're all labor of love. And that's really like if a game is submitted to us and I don't fall in love with that game, I'm not going to publish it, which is it's very restricting. Like we miss out on probably a lot of great games that way, but I want to put everything I have into a game if I'm going to make it great or try to make it great. So whether it's my design or someone else's design, it has to be something I love.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that I wanted to touch on. We were talking about while we were playing Wingspan. My favorite game so far that I've played of yours is Scythe. By far, hands down, it is my favorite because you get so much free reign as to do what you want. And as we were talking, because we just did a podcast before talking about Wingspan, We brought up, Scythe, how it feels natural. You don't go and attack each other for the sake of attacking each other. If you have a conflict, it is a natural conflict. You're in my spot. You're taking a resource that I require. There's going to be some kind of fighting. But with that, having said that, when it comes to games that you just publish, how much influence do you have over those? Like Wingspan, we notice that it's very natural. It's very organic. Things just happen. Everything is laid out in a straight line, so to speak. And how much of that was your input into the game and how the game kind of plays out?
Yeah, like how much influence did you have with helping Elizabeth, or was it pretty much like done when you got your hands on it?
Yeah, I have a pretty heavy hand in the games that we publish. I certainly can't take credit for nearly all the clever things that you find in our games, or the things that help games flow or feel immersive. A lot of that comes from the designers. But like for Wingspan, when Wingspan was originally pitched to us, it was a very basic game. It was just bird cards, and you accumulated some resources and tried to play bird cards. And the game ended after you had played a certain number of bird cards. There wasn't really a sense of progression to it. And so, but I saw that like what Elizabeth could do from the start is she could design cards that really, where the mechanisms match the theme of those individual birds, which isn't easy to do, to design a bunch of cards in that way. So I worked with her to develop that kind of that player mat, that action system where you have a sense of progression every time you play a bird, or every time you run your little bird engine. And so that was a combination of us working together on that, but it definitely didn't start out that way.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
I just think it's so beautiful. Like it looks so
oh my
perfect.
gosh, the artwork in that game is amazing.
I don't even think about what I'm doing with birds. I just clicked all the certain color eggs because they're pretty. And then I end up not winning, but enjoying it once I realize, oh, I have this. I should do this now. But usually Laura and I just collect all the pretty eggs. Like we were talking
just a little bit ago, it's one of the few games where we've played where we aren't battling each other or I wouldn't say yelling. We don't really yell at each other, but we do get some barbs in at each other.
We're actually giving it away because you mentioned it's a good couples game. So we're doing a giveaway for Games Overboard. And inside,
we're making the drawing tonight. So
Wingspan, there it is.
By the time this airs, it'll be 2 weeks ago.
So someone already have won that board.
Yeah, someone has already probably has it in their house by the time this airs.
Right.
But so
we're marketing it's a couples game because you don't fight.
Yeah.
It does play well as a couples
fight. I totally agree. A lot.
Not in Wingspan.
Well,
do we fight?
As you're saying, the most yelling that you had was at yourself for making boneheaded moves.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which just still makes me giggle.
That's the story of my life with any board game, though.
Wow. Yeah.
So getting into Kickstarter and all that. Yeah. So one of your mantras is no Kickstarter exclusives. And I want to say that with some games you did have them, but you just offer them now in your store. For first-time designers, a lot of them are like, we need people we need butts in the seats, to use a movie term, we need people to get in there. So what do you say about the people who they're offering Kickstarter exclusives because they kind of have to compete in that kind of market, and they may not have the money for it later or something? Is there another option that they might have available to them?
It's a good question. And you're right. Everyone only gets one first chance to make that game or make that whatever they're really passionate about. And the option that I think is just equally as good, but is better for the long term for any game, is to make them promos that you can that are included for free with the campaign. So whether it's a stretch goal unlocked thing or something you include from day one, make it a special promo that you include, but make it a promo instead of an exclusive, so that you can, if people want it afterward, you can sell it afterward on your website or at conventions and whatnot. I think, and oftentimes I think that's how people refer to exclusives now, Kickstarter exclusives. That's what they mean when they say that. But to me, it takes kind of the fear of missing out of it.
Yeah.
It gives people the option of buying it later. And the thing that I think creators will find is, if you make something awesome that people want after the campaign, you will want to share that with more people. You want to share whatever the metal coins are that you made. If a lot of people want them, you will want to make more of them. And if you've limited yourself by that exclusive, which I did early on, as you said, I kind of avoided it on most of the really big things, but there were a few things that were exclusive that I think I've avoided making completely ever since then. But once I experienced that and realized I had made something that more people wanted, I stopped doing that because I just wanted to be able to make it for everybody.
Yeah,
I wish all companies thought that way.
Absolutely.
There's one Kickstarter exclusive that's killing me that I can't get my hands on because it's based on one of my favorite short stories, and I just can't get it. And it's a big company; they can afford to make extras, and they just won't. But anyways, another question I had for you, leaning on Kickstarter and all again, is how because you don't do Kickstarter, and I don't see you like in social media outside of YouTube and things like that, like in terms of ads. So how do you get the word out for games? Because that's an issue that our first-time designers are getting, is how, what's the best place that you have found to market? How do you do your marketing? Pretty
much all of my marketing is based on, well, I guess there's two sides of it. Part of it is that we have a new newsletter that a lot of people subscribe to. And so if I have a new product that I want to share with people, I just put it out there on the newsletter. That is something that new creators don't have typically, unless they've used those ads, unless they've built up that newsletter subscription through some other form of content. But the main side of it that I do is I try to create content that I think people are interested in, that might add value to them, whether it's the YouTube videos or the blog posts. On Instagram, I mostly post about other people's games because I just like to talk about games. And so I put that in the category of kind of like goodwill marketing, where I'm sharing my passion for something that I think other gamers are passionate about. And every now and then I throw in something about one of our games that people can pay attention to if they want to. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It takes time and it feels right to me. But for a new creator, I understand that like they might only have a few months to get that interest going, and their ads are pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I thought you had a question earlier.
I always have questions, but no one can answer them. No, continue.
So, oh my gosh.
I love you so much, Dan.
Yep. We keep him around for a reason. I'm not sure what.
I'm entertaining.
That's the word.
So what kind of, thinking back to viticulture and your early Kickstarters, what kind of hurdles did you really experience that like you had to overcome and that, surprised you?
I think, especially in the early days, I underestimated the importance of blind playtesting. Like viticulture, I playtested it so much locally, just me and my friends playtesting it, my co-founder playtesting it, but we really did very little of blind playtesting, which is when you share the files for a game with other people and you're not there, you're asking them questions, you're asking them to kind of like fill out a form and things like that. And that goes, I think, a long way to improving a game, making the cards more clear, more interesting to play, making the rules clear. And so that was something that I definitely learned with viticulture, and then implemented it with Euphoria during the second campaign that I ran. So,
would you recommend then for something like now that Tabletop Simulator is a thing, like for designers to post their games on there for people to try out to get like ideas?
Yeah, TTS and Tabletopia, I think, are great platforms for putting games out there for people to try out. I still prefer to play test on the tabletop. I think the experience is like it's easier for me to actually, shuffle a deck of cards or hold my own hand of cards, and
just to see the board real and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's why we play board games, at least for me. Yeah,
same here. Well, I do enjoy Board Game Arena. What was that, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say that like when we do our board game reviews, I know that we spend a lot of time. I'm very particular about the texture of like things. Because PJ started making me think about textures of things.
You're welcome.
So now I can't like get out of my head. So it's nice to play the game to see like what the texture is and like, is it fussy? Is it not fussy?
You
yell at me for bumping.
I know. Sorry, he's good looking and he's sweet because he gives things. He's just a nice guy. So I gotta.
I know. I think he and I are gelling quite well.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So,
do any of you play? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, you finish. Yeah.
Do any of you ever play? Like I found during the pandemic, I started playing games on Board Game Arena every other week, and I just kept it going after that because I can play. I have like a weekly game night with people who aren't in St. Louis now. Did you all ever get into playing any games online, or is it all
Tabletop Simulator? When I backed Gloomhaven was my first ever Kickstarter. I backed the second printing because I missed the first one, and so they released like, I think it was monthly or weekly, like scenarios you could go through. And so I did that so I could learn the rules and everything. And then when he moved out to California, I taught him Gloomhaven over Tabletop Simulator as well.
Yeah, that was my first experience with it.
Yeah, I played a couple other games here and there. I taught myself Dead of Winter that way too. Before I bought the game,
We got to do that one again.
That's the zombie with the dog, right?
Yes,
I love that one. Save the dog.
I love that game, but it fell flat with everyone else we play with. We've only played it once.
I played Scrabble along with my friend Maria, actually, all through quarantine.
Okay.
We got someone with it. We actually had we made big accounts. I shouldn't say that, but we actually had 3 games going at one time just to see who would win. we got really into Scrabble. It was cutthroat.
Yeah.
Do you have any games where when you play you just think this game is just genius from base to bottom to top, it's just pure genius?
Oh yeah. There's so many games like that.
Which if you had Desert Island moment, if you had to take 3 games with you, what do you think you can narrow down? I don't know if I could.
I got mine. I know mine already.
Yeah, yours already. I see one behind you. I love Dune Imperium.
Oh yes.
And that's one, not only do I love it, but I have tried to design deck building games, and it's not as easy as it looks, really, because there's that standard deck building format, but to do something special with deck building, like Paul did with Dune Imperium, is very difficult. And so I appreciate the game as a designer, and I also just love to play it.
Yeah, that is incredible. Deck building is probably my favorite genre. I love it.
It's probably one of the easier ones to learn. Of course, almost every game has its own variations on the rules and everything, but the core gameplay is super simple. We also have one of my games is actually over there, which is the Legendary Encounters Alien edition, which is what he bought for me for my birthday one year, and he has the Predator pack.
Yes,
nice.
Now eventually we're going to combine them.
I was going to say we got to get ballsy and put them both together and see how fast we lose this.
Table flips down here in the basement. It's fine. So my question is, because we're teachers, about the games that you've made or helped produce and print, which one would you suggest you bring into a tabletop game, or you bring into your my gifted kids, for example, out of your group of games that would really get them invested and interested in board gaming?
I think so the one I most often recommend to classrooms, actually there are a couple. Can I give a few answers?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Quick answers. So I think that are Between Two games. Have you played Between Two Cities or Between Two Castles?
I have not yet.
They're interesting in that it's a competitive game. You're trying to win by yourself, but you have to partner with the player on your left and the player on your right to build either castles or cities, depending on the game. And so it's really good for encouraging communication between people. So I like that for communication. Rolling Realms, I think, is great for the classroom because it can easily be tied with an assignment to the students. In Rolling Realms, there are a bunch of different realms based on different games. This week, I'll be playing the Libertalia realm. I'll be playing an Architects of the West Kingdom realm and a Scythe realm. And so it's a distilled version of a much bigger game on a single card. And so it's a good challenge for kids to say, okay, now that you know Rolling Realms, take a game that and distill it down to a realm. It's a good assignment. And the last one I would say is Wingspan, just because Wingspan is so tied to STEM. It's just a good. It can be an educational game if you want it to be.
My gifted kids will like all those.
Yeah,
definitely. The thing we recorded this, so I can go back and write it down.
Yep.
Okay.
We actually send a lot of games to classrooms. So if there's any of those that you want to try in your classroom, I'd be happy to send you a few copies for you to play in your class.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, we would love that. Yeah.
Well, John Garcia's letting us borrow his what is he called? The major
the pub-sized edition.
The pub-sized edition, which I'm not going to call it that, of course, for my gifted showcase, but I'm hosting a gifted showcase for my school for the entire IU. And so we want to have it there to get pictures for John, since he's just finished his Kickstarter and whatnot, and have the kids play that at the gifted showcase. Yeah. So it's kind of it's really exciting. It's the entire region is going to be there. So only a little nerve-wracking, but because we want to help people if I run Desert Island, Betrayal
House on the Hill,
with all the extras, because Uno, because I want to see how long it takes to for Dan to throw one of us in the ocean.
Not very long.
Uno destroys friendships, and I would bring Dex Dixon when it's finished, because I feel like that would last us a lifetime, because there's so many crazy stories that come from that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So shout out to Steve.
I hope that Kickstarter.
Me too.
I really do hope it goes through.
But again, that's why we were doing this. It was his idea, was to make sure people get their names out there, get their games out there, and explain it.
Yeah. And with that, you have a game coming soon in July.
I do, yeah. I have it right next to me. Expeditions. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay. So
There's a bear on the
I'm
front.
going to be completely honest with you. PJ told me that you were coming up with a sequel to Scythe, and I freaked out. I was like, "What?
True.
Yeah, it's got this. I want it now. Like, when does it come out? We need this."
So what made you come to this decision that it was like time to return to that world?
It was a couple of years ago. It was 3 years ago, and it had been a little while since I had designed anything for Scythe. We kind of closed Scythe with the Rise to Fenris, and then a few other accessories to come after that, and like little expansions.
Yeah.
And Jakob kept creating art though, because Jakob still loves this world, and he's just a great artist. So he's creating random art here and there.
Absolutely.
And I follow him on Instagram, and we chat every now and then. And I just started getting some ideas for it. I was like, what happens after this? What happens after the events of Scythe? But I didn't want to do another Scythe expansion. I didn't want to just redesign Scythe. I wanted to create something else, something different and unique in that world.
Yeah.
And so we just started spitballing ideas. And now there will be a game in July.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm very excited. And we were talking about
it's your birthday month.
It is my birthday
month.
And the thing that we were talking about is this is really exciting just as a board game in general, because it's not very often that you see a board game gets a sequel. Normally it's just a one and done type of thing. And then you get, hey, from the creators of this, it's a similar game, but it's completely different. But here you've got not an expansion, like a complete follow-up with new story elements and new details and things that, like I said, you don't see in this kind of industry. And that's really, really neat to see how your world can expand so large. And I think the world that you guys created is just fantastic.
So how does it feel? How's it feel when you make a game like this and you're like, all right, we're releasing in a couple months, and it's already in production and it'll be here soon. So like, how does that experience differ from like when you were making Kickstarters and stuff like that? Like, just jumping right into production and retail.
It's what we've done for the last few years, and so I'm kind of used to it at this point. But I like it a lot. I still like the feedback. Like with Expeditions, we still had a little bit of time to make alterations to the rulebook in particular. Okay. And I'm glad actually that we announced it a little bit earlier than we have done for the last few games, because people did have some good feedback for the rulebook. So that was helpful, but it felt like a collaboration there rather than a lot of people on the internet just throwing stuff at you for like a month on Kickstarter, which can be really intense, especially when you've already put a lot of time and passion into this thing. And so this was a nice balance, right? I know the game is finished, but there were just some little incremental things that we could improve about the rulebook. Yeah. And it's nice knowing that people don't have to wait a long time. I think with Kickstarter, it feels so uncertain now. I've stopped even paying attention. Like if the game shows up, I'm excited to have it at my doorstep. But with this, like I know I can say with confidence that we are delivering this to people in July. Yeah. Whereas with Kickstarter, it's not
you don't have to write weekly updates and things like that too.
Right.
Yeah.
It must feel so nice to be established, to not have that fear that other Kickstarters have,
Right. Or that even that reliance on continually updating everybody on, hey, I just did this.
This is what we're doing now.
Hey, don't forget about the game that's coming up. There's this.
We'll still do a little bit of that, I think, but not much.
With Scythe in general, that one was based around the artwork. Like the artwork started, and then you built a game off it, correct? How many games, or have there ever been any other games where it started with the artwork, or do you start with the mechanisms? What usually comes first?
Yeah, definitely depends heavily on the game. You're right. Scythe started with the artwork. Red Rising started with a book series. So I hadn't done that before. Libertalia, one of our most recent games, started with another game, the earlier version of Libertalia that from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then there are games like Charterstone right behind you there that actually evolved quite a bit. Like it came from an idea that I had that was unrelated to art. I made my own world for it. But once Mr. Cuddington, which is a husband-wife pair of artists, once they got involved and I started to see their art actually changed the game. It helped build the world and change what I wanted to put into that
That's
world.
Pretty cool.
So I really like working with artists while the game design is still in flux.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really influences the game. Yeah, I love the artwork in Charterstone.
They're pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's what's I didn't believe. Initially I was surprised that they are from the same group, because like the artwork for all of your stuff is so different. I know that you work with different people, but
So you mentioned earlier, you talked about like how a lot of your games are like medium weight euros, things like that. Have you ever had any ideas like rolling around for like a more story driven kind of game, similar to Rise of Fenris, how that had like a story to it, but or something even just more Ameritrashy like Betrayal House on the Hill?
Hey, you call it trash, I call it art.
Have you ever like rolled that idea around, or are you definitely more of like the reduction of luck and more about planning your turns and everything like that?
I do like a fairly high amount of
them.
player agency in games.
Yeah.
I'm okay with luck, but I like it when it's input randomness, like when you're rolling the dice, if you're rolling the dice first and then making a decision based off that versus rolling the dice and then mitigating that. Although there are games that do that well. Betrayal actually does that well, I think, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
There's not a lot of dice mitigation really in that. But
sometimes that game can get pretty broken.
Yeah.
Only if you're cheating. I mean,
we're playing Betrayal Legacy right now, actually. Have you guys played that?
Oh,
We're about halfway through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we are.
Nice. Yeah. I love that game. We need to finish it.
It's interesting to see like how the whole house evolves because of that. And everyone can have very different, endings because of how they go.
Yeah, because like we have played the first one to death, and so the collapsed room is one of the more iconic rooms in that. And then like minor spoiler, I guess, for that, but like there's a possibility that you can make the collapsed room in Legacy. I don't know if you did or not in yours, but we did.
Whoops.
So I love how like all ties in together, like with the original edition of the game and everything.
Yeah,
I agree. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, and also about story games. I am working on a game that has a lot more narrative than my previous games do.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one of your YouTube videos was like your favorite story-driven games and things like that. And as soon as I saw the title, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't really do that too much, does he? so that was a question I was very intrigued to have answered for sure. Yeah.
It definitely won't be on the level of Sleeping Gods, where there's long paragraphs of text, which I do like. I think
it's fantastic.
It's a wonderful game. Yeah, I agree. But it will have a fair amount of text in it compared to other games.
Yeah, I just got that like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
2, yeah.
So I'm only like I played it for an hour probably, and it's amazing. Just after an hour, I see exactly where the game is going and what they're trying to accomplish, and it's fantastic. I love it.
It's an impressive feat.
All his board games over here on this side too, and the ones that are upstairs.
Yeah, that's all the games that like we don't play as often though. Well, this is the ones that hit the table more often.
These are just stacked.
And these are the stackable ones, the thicker ones, the bigger ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice display.
One game we never play is Scooby-Doo Betrayal. No.
So you don't design
trash game. That's trash.
I know you don't design games where there is like reverse momentum. You always want forward movement, things like that. Not a fan of designing games with like take that cards, things like that. How about playing those kind of games though? Are you ever in the mood for like just dumping all these horrible cards on a friend?
A game of pure spite.
Uno.
I see Skull behind you there. Skull is in that category.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, if they're shorter games, there are games in that category that I really enjoy. But it usually needs to be pretty short.
That's something like for me as like someone who will probably never design a game because I just have no ideas rolling around there. So I like to know, like, for a designer who doesn't design those kind of games, like, do you like playing them too?
You design really good D&D campaigns, though.
Kinda like I homebrewed a campaign, but it's literally just based off a book series, and so like none of it's really original per se. It's just taking what I love and like throwing all my friends into it.
That's why I still want your help finishing this one I'm working on.
Yep. So he has one going on.
I don't know
right
if he
now.
plays D&D. Let's not nerd out too much.
But if you like,
I never have. I need to.
Oh, really?
I need to play it. Yeah.
It's fun.
I need to find a good short campaign of it to play, like either 1 to 3 sessions. For the people who play, some campaigns that last years. I don't have time to do years of a campaign, but a short.
I agree. That's how with my tabletop club, because we only meet for like an hour and a half at a time, so it has to be in really short bursts and everything, and like little micro campaigns. So it's the same kind of deal there for sure.
We did the
Nice.
same thing with Jack when he ran his first campaign years ago.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, we'll try it out. And then I fell in love with my character. I'm like, we got to keep going. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
this
We need
person
to keep
cannot
playing.
die. So you say three short episodes, but no, it's going to be like a year.
It goes on, yeah.
You'll get
It's gonna go
hooked.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep. Especially if you love like just telling a collaborative story around the table, things like that, because that's
Right.
really what is
Yeah.
my favorite way to pitch it to people. I'm like, have you seen Whose Lines Are They Anyway? I'm like, it's that with dice, you know. It's
Pretty
like,
much.
you know, and where in improv, it's everything is yes. You know, you roll die, and that will tell you if it's yes or no, and then you
Yeah.
just play off it from there.
Right.
I'm just thinking of our current campaign. If
Cool.
you were to listen to Danger and Dice, how your character is
Oh,
just like,
gosh.
I'm going to attack. I rolled a 1.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, if you want to get into it with more familiar characters, there's also an easier rule set called Mutants and Masterminds that was designed in the 80s. One of my favorite things that I play with a group of friends online is it's the DC universe. So you get to play as heroes or villains, and those are very short campaigns if you go by the book. Like probably done in 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that,
That's
I'd
neat.
definitely say look those up.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I love the superhero theme.
Oh, me too. I always play
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
I don't think about it as Batman.
Yeah, I don't
never
think, and
play it,
it's
but I
funny
know.
because when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
start the game, it's like, well, we know what that is.
Yeah, just move on. What if I wanted to be Batman?
You could be
No, you're supposed to just go, I'm Batman.
could be Batgirl. I mean,
You had a chance to use
I know I had the chance,
You're
but I'm
correct.
not taking that
Correct.
away
David
from Michael Keaton.
Wait,
I'm
we need to
Batman.
wrap this up. You're going to give us way more time than
Yeah.
we offered.
Yeah,
so.
he did. That's fantastic.
So thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
My pleasure.
if, if you don't say goodbye, we'll just keep talking
We
forever.
will. Because
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always so appreciative, whether you're a first-time designer or someone like Jamey Stegmaier, coming on the show. Who we are just.
voice, you sound so excited.
I'm so excited right now. So, seriously, we are extremely grateful for having
We
you
are.
Oh, definitely.
on here.
I really appreciate the invitation, and I like that you're highlighting newer designers as well. I think that's often overlooked by interviewers. So it's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah. What advice, other than like looking at your Kickstarter lessons from Kickstarter blog, what like one big piece of advice would you have for them? Do you
That was
think?
going to be my closing question. High five.
Yeah, teamwork.
Teamwork.
So for a new designer, what would I suggest? I mean, you've actually touched upon it a little bit with your question about Take That games. I think I've learned so much by playing games that I didn't expect to like.
Mhm.
And so stepping outside my own genre and playing a really wide variety of games, I've discovered some of my favorite games that way. I've also discovered some games that I didn't like, but I learned from them too. I learned what I didn't like and what I didn't want to put in my game. So for any up and coming new designer, that would be by far my top recommendation, to play a lot of games, including those that you don't expect to like.
I think that's
Beautiful.
fantastic. I love
They
it.
tell me all the time, and I go, no, play with Dan.
So
You know nothing better.
yeah, you'll like Gloomhaven, I swear it. You'll like Scythe too. Just
I know. It's just the boxes scare me. No, Side, I leave for you and Owen and Dan because you guys are so cute together when you play it.
so
They
before
really are.
one thing we always offer our guests is we record every Friday at 7:30 Eastern. You are always welcome. If you play a game like, man, I wish I could talk to someone about this game, like let us know.
Yeah.
Send us an email beforehand and we'll cut out like a 15-minute segment.
Yeah.
Have you on.
Oh, cool.
We'd love to have you back. You are just absolutely delightful.
Okay, calm down. Calm down.
No.
Well, maybe when we both finish our betrayal campaigns, I can pop on and we can talk about betrayal.
That would be
That'll give
fun.
us a reason to
Yeah.
get back into it then.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you so much.
Thank you so much
My
for being on the
pleasure. Thank you
show.
all.
Good
Yeah.
luck on your release for Expeditions. I'm looking forward to
Thank
getting my hands on that
We're
myself.
buying 2 copies, one for Dan, one for PJ.
Yeah, birthday present.
Birthday present.
Nice.
I want to get the Ironclad edition. It's metal.
Okay,
You
sounds
get
good.
metal.
Oh,
Not
geez,
surprised.
I'll put in some extra money just for that.
We'll put in the anyway. So thank you for coming
Yes,
on.
thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming on the
my
show.
pleasure.
You made my Valentine's Day gift much easier this year.
All right.
It was wonderful to meet all of you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
And let,
you
yeah,
as
let me know
well.
when this goes live, and I'm going to go find those old episodes so I can learn about your haunted house.
Definitely,
Awesome.
yeah.
And if you could, just tell Megan she did a great job.
I will. I'll let her know right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's probably tapping her foot going,
I'm very happily married, but yeah, just tell her that I approve.
Okay.
Take care.
All right, guys. Have a good
Take
night.
care.
You too.
Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
great day.
Bye.